Hello, can you hear me? Είμαστε και πρέπει να φύγει ο κύριος Τζίκας, οπότε είναι πήγο. Η Νίκη, είχαμε πει να το... Πάμε. So, hello everyone. I think we can start. Βασίλη, ακούγεται. Ακούγεται. So, we'd like to thank you for your participation on the 10th Technology Forum. Many thanks for this. First of all, we would like to thank Helexpo, Mr. Gikas, Mr. Tsaxirlis, Mr. Kafas for hosting us today the Technology Forum on the framework of Beyond. We believe that this synergy is really important for us. We would like also to thank our sponsors, Infoteam and the Lerios family, who are our gold sponsors, and the National Bank of Greece and the General Secretariat for Research and Innovation, who are our silver sponsors. Their contribution is very important for us. I also would like to thank the organizing committee, Mr. Tassos Gounaris, who had the coordination of the technical program, Mr. Fouskas, who was in charge of the social media, and Niki Bai, who took care of many activities. Now I would like to ask Mr. Gikas, the chairman of Helexpo and Beyond, if he can say a few words as opening of the event.
Thank you, Mr. Vamvalis. I would like to thank you all that you are here. It's a honor for us to host this very important forum, Technology Forum. I would like to say that Beyond is, this year we have the third edition of Beyond. We try to have a big technological event here in Thessaloniki because we think that Thessaloniki is an innovation hub, not only for Greece, but for the region. Here in Thessaloniki, we combine human resources, institutions, and academic organizations, and a very nice lifestyle and a very attractive city. So, thank you once more that you are here. I think that this event will give us an opportunity to have a real bond between us. I mean, a real bond between the community of innovation of the city and the European community of innovation. And once more, my thanks to the Israeli friends that give us the honor to have them here. Thank you once more.
Many thanks, Mr. Gikas, for your words. Now that we have Mr. Efthymiadis here, who was his participation was important on making this, maybe you can say a couple of words because of your link also with Israel, which is the spotlight is on Israel this year. So, please, Mr. Efthymiadis.
Thank you so much. You saw the politicians passing by. He was the Minister of Development, but he was passing by because of the elections. So they are now trying to identify the second-class citizens to say hello. So I'm delighted to do that. Thessaloniki has its own position in technology. It's quite recent, but it's very, very strong. And I think that you can see it very easy around you. Technology Forum, IBAN, and Beyond, joining forces with the International Affair of Thessaloniki to demonstrate the goodwill and the strength of making it happen. So Technology Forum is for us a very important instrument, a catalyst of joining forces together. We will say a few more things later on when we talk about the new generation of innovation in Thessaloniki. So from my point of view, as Mr. Vanvalis said, as a connecting figure of technology in the area, I wish to welcome all of you here and let us see what can we do all together.
Thank you, Mr. Efthymiadis. Now, Dr. Alexis Papadimitriou from Infoteam, our golden sponsor, if you can say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Cosma. Basically, the previous speakers summed it up pretty perfectly. Shalom to our Israeli esteemed visitors. I don't have pretty much anything else to add. You've mentioned it fine, and we are happy as Infoteam Software to always support such events, such as Technology Forum. And we're always going to be there for any kind of initiative that puts Thessaloniki on the map and provides everything that it deservedly needs as a technological hub in the southeast region, Balkans, and even more so. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Papadimitriou. And our last golden sponsor is Lerios family. You know Tolis Lerios. He was always supporting all these years the Technology Forum. This year he gave his sponsorship, so there is a message from his side. Unfortunately, he didn't make it and he's not with us. So I'm going to read it. The Lerios family believes that youth must be adaptable to thrive in the fast-changing world through concepts such as job, workplace, or marriage are fluid. Adaptability is relatively poor in Greece, especially outside Athens. Hope lies with entrepreneurs, teachers, artists, leaders, and other visionaries who organize events where one may broaden their perspective and grow their network. The Technology Forum is such an event, and the Lerios family support it alongside Greece with companies such as Atlantis Engineering Thessaloniki and Centroc Electric and Analytics in Volos. So now, Mr. Gogolidis, if you can take over the first session of the event.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vasilis Gogolidis from General Secretariat for Research and Innovation. I will moderate this first session with the three distinguished keynote speakers. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being with us. I personally have a very, very nice experience from Israel. The first one was so good that I went again a few months ago. You will have about 20 minutes for your presentations, and we'll have some short time for possible questions. There is a conference, I understand, facility that you can post your questions. And we can start with the first presentation from Mr. Elad Ghoz. I will say a few words about our keynote speaker. You can see in the program that all the CVs are very impressive. So we'll just mention a few things. Mr. Ghoz holds a master in law, also a bachelor in electrical engineering. I saw that you are mostly related with healthcare systems, or maybe I'm wrong, you can... Recently. And also experience in Eastern countries.
If you want, I can do it.
Okay, yes, you will do it better than me. Thank you very much.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Kalispera. Me lene Elad Goz, and I come from Israel. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Professor Kostas, for inviting me to speak here. And thank you, everybody, and good afternoon. So I'll quickly introduce myself because, as we say in the HR world today, I had a very, not horizontal career, but very lateral career. I moved from different places, but basically I've been doing business development for the last 15 years. After my studies of engineering in Israel, I worked in the industry for a few years, worked for a few startup companies. I said that's not for me. And I joined the diplomatic corps in Israel, and I was a diplomat for about 11 years, but on the economic and trade side. So I did a couple of postings outside of Israel, mostly doing business development for Israeli companies outside of Israel. The last posting was in Hong Kong, where I served until 2016. After 2016, I was asked to join large investment groups from Hong Kong to develop their activities in Israel. So I did business development for those investors. And then right after COVID started, there was a lot of things changing. So I decided that healthcare is a good business. So I ran an innovation center for one of the largest hospitals in Israel. And this was also basically business development work for the hospital on the R&D side. And about a year ago, we decided to, let's say, change our lives a little bit, and we came to Greece. And I decided to establish here a partnership and doing the things that I know to do best, which is connecting the dots, doing business development. And I joined my partners, Yanis and Kostas. One is here, and the other one is not here, unfortunately. And we opened Aegean Gateway last year, where we have offices in Athens. And I'm happy to be here for my first time in Thessaloniki. So again, thank you for having me. So let's dive into what I'm going to talk about in the next, let's say, 15 minutes or so, which is we're going to discuss a little bit what is going on, what was going on in Israel and what is going on in Israel, and how does it, and how can it relate to Greece as a whole and Thessaloniki in particular. So as you know, Israel is a powerhouse of innovation. Many of the things that you use on a daily basis were invented and developed in Israel. You may not know it. I saw a lot of multi-locks here. This is a special lock. What we call low technology was invented and developed in Israel. I can see it in almost every door that I see here in Greece. Of course, everybody here has a disc-on key or a stick. This was invented by Dov Mohan in Israel in the 90s. So it's like the things that you use every day were actually invented in Israel. Of course, the firewall was invented in Israel. I think you are the only country in the world that you use Viber. Everybody uses WhatsApp. When I came here, I had to download Viber, another Israeli invention. And goes on and on. The cherry tomatoes were developed in Israel. ICQ, the first messaging system, was developed in Israel, and so on. Drip irrigation, and so on. So Israel is a powerhouse of innovation. But I want to show you something very interesting. This is it. This was the Israeli technology ecosystem in early 90s. It didn't exist. There was nothing. Okay, so if you go back 33 years ago or so, let's say 89 or 90, and you asked us what is the technology ecosystem, nobody even used that word then, but there was nothing. And let's see what we had today. Last year we have had $15.5 billion in VC investments. This is the highest in the world per capita, the highest in the world by far per capita. We had 826 deals, 89 M&As, and 17 IPOs. Now, mind you, Israel is a country with a population of Greece. Okay, we're about 10 million people. And size is about 7 times less than Greece. Okay? And as you know, we live in a very interesting environment around Israel. We don't have too many friends around us. So we are an island economy. Taking all of this into account, I believe it's a miracle, what we have here. Just another, going into the samples, 7,000 startups in cybersecurity, fintech, life science, agro and food, energy. You see the numbers of companies. We're talking about let's say, dozens of new companies every day. It's not like one or two. We're talking about dozens every day. I've tried to put some news slips into the presentation, so you see what's recently going in Israel. This is last week. An online gaming company was bought for $1.2 billion. Okay, this is online gaming. Okay, that stopped working. Can we change the slide, please? Oh, sorry. Okay. One more. Okay, so as I said, in the early 90s, there was really almost nothing in Israel. So at that time, there was a large immigration into Israel, and the government decided that the immigrants could be well suited for technology companies. So the government funded a few VC, let's say, VC arms that will invest into new companies and will help them create different technologies. And as we said, within less than 35 years, we have reached where we are today. Another news clip, you see that Qualcomm buys Israeli Autotalks for $350 million. This is also, I think, 1 or 2 weeks ago. But look what I highlighted in green. I don't know if you can see it, that the first biggest company in the world, Mobileye, which is also into auto, is also Israeli. So how did this happen within a lifespan of one generation? Okay, this is a big, I wouldn't say mystery, but this is a question. How did Israel get to where it is today within less than 35 years? So there are a lot of articles and books about it. The famous one is called Startup Nation. This is why Israel is dubbed now the Startup Nation. And basically, there are, let's say, a few general points you can say about what has made Israel into what it is today. So first of all, there's a culture of innovation and creativity. Our late President Peres always said that to be an Israeli and a Jew, it means generally never being happy. If you're never happy with a product or a service, you always want to renew and to find a better way. So if you are happy about something, you'll probably not make it in the startup world. Okay, you have to be not happy about something and you want to correct it. R&D capabilities and strong tech transfer, these are very important issues that needs to be tackled. We have here a lot of people from universities. If there's a lot of R&D done in universities and it doesn't move to the private sector, it may get lost. Highly skilled workforce, I would dare to say that there is this also in Greece here. You have, again, in Israel, if you look at the numbers that we saw, it's not like that 50% of the population is doing high tech. We're talking about less than 10% of the population. And this is what you need to have this engine of technology move the entire train forward. So you also in Greece, I believe, you also have the skilled force. Government support and defense industry. The government was, I would say, a key player throughout the years with helping with regulation and funding. And the Israel Innovation Authority is a very strong force in pushing the wagon forward. The Jewish and the Israeli diaspora, I think very similar also to the Greek diaspora, can play a major role in moving this forward. As we said, VC activity is a must. Without that, it will be very difficult to move. And again, be creative and flexible. So these are, in general, you know, the main features of our ecosystem. I just wanted to note a few more things that I think are important. First of all, in terms of cultural innovation, it is important not to be afraid to fail. I was happy to see Alex that was sitting here a few minutes ago and said that his first startup completely failed. That's good. You shouldn't be afraid to fail. If you're afraid to fail, most likely you will not succeed because usually you fail at the beginning. So in Israel, by the way, and also Stergios was sitting here, and if you go to a VC in Israel, one of the first questions they will ask you is how many times have you failed? So how many times have you been in this room, ask for VC money and you failed? And if the number is 0, they will most likely tell you get out. Okay, this is your first time of failing. You have to fail a few times to succeed. So this is important, to embrace failure. You have to be result-oriented. From day one, when an Israeli entrepreneur wakes up in the morning, he thinks about conquering the American economy. Okay, this is the mindset. again, this is a guy lives in, I don't know, southern Tel Aviv, in the garage of his parents thinking about something, but when he wakes up, he thinks that he's going to sell his product for every person in the United States. And you have to have this mindset, although the road is very long and 95% you will not make it, but you have to have this mindset that I'm going to conquer the world. The government should play and should play a role in early stage funding. This has been proven to be very effective in Israel. I think the numbers are 1 to 7 or 1 to 8, meaning that for every dollar that the government puts in, they get $6 or $7 back from taxes from the companies that are being sold. So this is proven, I mean, this is mathematically proven that it works. Defense sector is also a great university for innovation. Also here you have defense forces, they could and should play a role. Again, high availability of funding is a must. And something that I think is currently missing here in Greece is the headquarters, the R&D centers of multinational companies. This is something that I think that needs to be arranged here. And again, flexibility is key. So, is Greece a high-tech miracle in the making? I think that's the question everybody is asking here, whether Greece can become in, let's say, 10, 20, 30 years, in a sense similar to what is Israel today. And that's a good question. I think it's important to see what you already may have and what is probably maybe is missing. So government support, I do see that the government is trying to be involved in. I've only been here for a year and I've picking up information, but I believe that the government is trying to help. The good thing that you have here that we didn't have in Israel is funding from the EU. The fact that you have here Stergios that was sitting here, his fund is based on EU capital. And the other funds that are running around here, as far as I understand, most of them are based on EU funding. And this is very, very important for the local ecosystem. And it's very, very important to continue this and then try to enlarge it. This is something we didn't have at the beginning. Again, you have a defense sector that can play a role in innovation. And the way I see the Greeks in my last year here, you are very creative and flexible. Okay, if there is a red light, you will go from that side, not to stand in the red light and so on. So the mindset of the people is creative, and you do have a talented and educated workforce. So I think there's a lot of things that are going for you. And as I mentioned, I think that what is maybe missing, and this is again, I apologize if I'm wrong, and this is just my perspective after being a year here, is a little bit a culture of innovation. It needs to be more talk about innovation, more activity of innovation, and this is what you guys are trying to do here, and this is very, very, very important. You need to attract some global MNCs here to do R&D. You know that the government of Israel many years ago had paid a lot of money to Intel to open a huge R&D center and a factory in Israel. This cost the government billions of dollars. But now, 15, 20 years later, this has been one of the best investments that we've ever done. They are employing thousands of people. They are only producing some of their technologies only in Israel. They are building new factories all the time. This has been a remarkable success in terms of bringing international MNCs. And again, also something that was raised in the panel before us, the lack of experience. The lack of experience of starting companies and growing and scaling them. And this is something that actually you are lucky in that sense that Israel is not far away and there's a lot of people with experience there that you can learn from, as you had Stergios coming to do this here. So I was asked, how do you deal with and how do you maintain your competitive edge in such a world where everything moves fast? And when you are trying to build something and somebody else is building it, so how can you basically succeed with your startup? So I try to point out some things that I think are important. And again, this is not, I'm not inventing anything. This is let's say, common knowledge, and it was discussed also in the previous presentation. So I believe that the first thing you need to do is to solve a real problem, and it should be a global problem. You can go and solve a small problem in your hometown, but most likely you will not reach $1 billion valuation. Okay, so if you're looking to grow a serious company, you have to find a real global problem that you are going to solve. This is the beginning. once you do that, you have to move fast and to raise quickly. And it was discussed before. You need to create here, and I think it's in the making, business angels that will drive the early startups forward before they can reach to the VCs. We have today in Israel thousands of angels. I dare to say maybe tens of thousands of angels. Some of them are from industrial companies, some of them from VCs, and so on. So this is something that is very important. Again, I think one of the most important things is start locally. Okay, if you are building something that is going to be solving a global problem, you should have the same problem here in Greece. You have to start trying it here in Greece first, but always think globally. Alex, that was sitting here before, was talking about his company, and he was saying, you know, I guess he's living in the UK, so they started in the UK first, because that's the market that he knows. So if you are a Greek startup, start with Greece first, and then move on.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Oh, I gotta speed up. Okay. You gotta build a strong team. It was mentioned before, so the team is the most important thing. Again, you gotta be flexible and agile. Another question that you're always asked is, how many pivots have you done to your product? If you have not done any pivot to the product, something may be wrong. Meaning pivot, that you have a product, you go this way, but you discover that the market is not here, the market is there, so you need to pivot a little bit. Sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like this. So if you haven't done a pivot, check it out. You need to have an exit strategy from day one. You need to know who is going to buy your company, or are you going to an IPO? Very important as well. And I do believe that a personal story is very important. Last week I had a discussion with an Israeli company. The CEO and the founder comes from the cyber world, and that company is dealing with measurement of pain level. And I asked him, why? You are from cyber. How come you're doing measurement of pain? He said, because I have pain. So if you have a passion about something, or you know something that somebody else doesn't know, it's very important. I'll give quick examples. This is a company I'm involved with. Again, a small Israeli company already signed deals in Hong Kong to clean a high-rising building with using robots. Okay, again, a guy that comes from the industry of windows, he knows how difficult it is to clean buildings, and he developed a solution. Again, in his garage, selling it already in millions of dollars. Last week, it was reported that Dia Imaging Analysis, another Israeli company, was being bought by Philips. Again, the problem is how to read an echocardiogram. Okay, very difficult problem, global problem. The doctors in all over the world, they read echocardiograms the same. They don't know how to read them. So they need help. Again, a good example of a global problem, and just a small example of why is the local market very important, especially when you're dealing with regulated markets. Okay, for instance, this Israeli company, Remilk, is producing milk proteins from yeast, so no need to grow cows anymore. The first market is Israel. Okay, if you need to get a regulatory approval, first do it in your own country first. Then you go to the FDA and somewhere else. So just to finish, I think there's a lot of potential for a partnership and cooperation between Israel and Greece. You know, we're very close. We were amazed to count. We think there are about 100 flights per week into different destinations in Greece from Israel. Most of them going on holiday on the islands or other places, but still, it's very well connected. Greece economy is growing fast. The wages here are significantly low than Israel, which is important. And of course, we see a lot of similarities and synergies in many sectors. And this is why actually we established our partnership, my partners and I, to connect to potential clients and partners in Israel. I'm talking about the Greek community. We'll also do this for the Israeli community, but for the Greek community, we can connect you to clients and partners. It was mentioned here before, I think mentorship is very important. So if you're a CEO of, let's say, a Greek cyber security company, the best cyber security companies today are in the world. Give us a call. We'll connect you to a mentor from the cybersecurity world. Finding pilot opportunities. Every startup with a product needs a pilot place. We can help connect you to Israelis, very early adopters. They will always try almost everything that you want to throw at them. And connect you to funding opportunities as well. So Israel is really next door, and I welcome you to contact us and to see how we can help you. Does anybody here know who this is? No? Exactly. This is the first winner of the marathon, let's say the modern marathon that took place in Athens, not far. But when you start to run, always run to win. That's my tip for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I try to do it on time.
57:59. 0. 20 minutes exactly.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much. Very interesting speech.
Thank you.
I don't know if we have any questions for the audience. We have 5 minutes. Anyone want to take the floor? Please, Kostas. We have a microphone, please. No microphone yet? Take mine.
Working on it. 1 second.
No,
it's
take
coming.
mine.
It's coming.
So hello and welcome thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Very nice speech indeed.
Thank you.
So in your speech you mentioned that both countries, Israel and Greece, that something, an effect which helps them a lot as innovative countries is, for example, the defense sector and how it influences the public. Could you bring up more details about that? Because I'm really interested in the meaning behind that point.
Okay. In Israel, if you look at founders of startup companies, most of them come from, let's say, technology units in the army. So today armies are, let's say that I think that in today's modern armies, more people are doing technology than actually running with guns or driving tanks. Okay, that's the next war we're going to. Hopefully not. So the founders in Israel, if you look at them, many of them, I don't want to say most, but many of them come from technology army units. And this is where they get their experience. They don't necessarily go to college. They don't necessarily go to university. They learn how to do things and how to perform them in a tight schedule. You know how it is in the army. We need this solution yesterday.
I'm a consul, I know it very well.
Okay, so you know how it is. We need the solution yesterday because if not, we were all going to be dead, right? So you have to do it. You don't have a choice not to do it. So this is how you gain experience, and the same mentality goes to be a CEO. I need the solution yesterday because my clients are not waiting. So we see a lot of people moving when they finish their army service from the army to the real world, and also the army can provide you, besides education and experience, you know, the army, at least in Israel and in many other armies in the world, they have no budget limits. Okay, how much do you need? We'll give it to you. So you can learn and you can play and you can use the best equipment. And when you go out to the real world, it's different, but at least you have the mentality and the education.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Just quick, something quick to mention as well. You said that we need more worldwide companies. Actually, Thessaloniki has attracted a lot of headquarters. I mean, a lot of research headquarters, Pfizer, Accenture, Cisco. A lot of companies are coming to Thessaloniki, and it's important to see if this compares to the size of Athens. Also, regarding angel investors, next door we have the European Business Angel Network for the first time in Greece. I think these are important. Do you think the size of Thessaloniki is more suitable to attract, to become a pole of innovation compared to Athens, which is a large, bigger city, or this can be an obstacle in the way?
First of all, I don't want to go into the competition between the basketball teams of two cities, okay? But
and football teams.
Yeah, okay, and football as well. But I will say that it's a healthy competition. Okay, so I don't think it's a bad thing. I think wherever there is competition, it's a healthy competition. And you guys at Thessaloniki should push and do more in Thessaloniki, and the guys in Athens should push and do the best that they can do in Athens. And the winners will be both sides. So it's not about, and this is, I think, very important. It's not about one city or the other city. At the end of the day, Greece is a country, and if you know, if the GDP will grow as a result of your work or the Athenians' work, then everybody's enjoying it at the end of the day. And At Athens and Thessaloniki are not so far. So if you need a talented person and you can find it in Athens, you can probably very easily persuade him to come here and vice versa. So I think this is a healthy competition. You should do your best to win here in Thessaloniki. And I think everybody will win at the end. Does that answer the question?
I meant in terms of the size of the city. This is something that will...
You know, we have Roy here who worked in Beersheba. This is my hometown. Beersheba is a small city in the south of Israel. When I grew up, there was hardly anything there besides camels. And now Roy will tell you about what he built there. So I don't think it's a matter of size. Maybe you can think of a specialty that might be good for you, that, you know, maybe something that you are better than the Athenians. I don't know if there is such a thing. Okay, but let's say in Israel, Haifa is the, let's say, the best location for life sciences. Why? Because they did some, you know, work with the university and the hospital, so, and also a lot of international companies came and sat there. So if you think that, let's say, Thessaloniki has the potential of being, let's say, a better life science ecosystem than Athenians, concentrate your efforts there. So in the long run, maybe you will create, you know, something here that does not entirely compete with what you have there, and you'll be more successful in that sense.
Thank you very much. Please sit if you
See,
want to join
I'll
us.
sit over there. I'll let my
Sit
friends
wherever
talk.
you want.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you for your
Efcharistopoli, Kalispera.
questions. Very, very interesting presentation. So let's move to our next speaker, Mr. Ami Dagan, from the venture capital, I would say, sector. Also very interesting CV. I read you have a degree in electrical engineering. Actually, I told you, the most impressive for me was the four children, but he replied, this is a common thing in Israel. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here. My name is Ami. I'm from Israel. Thank you for having me here. So I'll try to talk about early stage startup funding from a few aspects. Okay, so first let me introduce myself a bit. I'm a managing partner at Random Forest VC.
Amis, excuse me, a little louder, please, or closer to the microphone.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm a managing partner at Random Forest VC, a well-known venture capital based in Israel. I had the privilege to being part of the founding team that established the VC. At Random Forest, we are focusing investing in early stage startup that leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence technologies. We have unique methodologies and capabilities that support and nurture AI deep technology startup. I hold a degree in electrical engineering. Okay, so I have been a part of the startup ecosystem for almost 25 years. Before joining Random Forest, I had the opportunity to found my own software company. I've had the opportunity to work for multi-international companies like PMC Sierra and Apple, and also work for startups like Wintegra and Pontis. For the past decades, my focus was in the AI technology area, which is a really, truly exciting journey. Today I'll try to tell you a bit more about Random Forest VC approach. We have kind of a special approach how to invest in deep technology startups. After that, I'll try to give my perspective on the Israeli ecosystem and the investors ecosystem especially. And at the end, I'll try to put some my insight about the investment decisions, metrics we are doing, and in general in the ecosystem. So Random Forest was founded 4 years ago with a singular focus, investing in early stage AI ventures. In essence, we are dedicated to unlocking the AI investment potential. Random Forest was founded by a team of experienced entrepreneurs, CEOs, and AI professionals. Zevi Bregman was the CEO of NICE Systems, the multi-billions NASDAQ company. Michael Kervis was founder and CEO of Pontis, which was acquired by Amdocs, and Gideon Bar-Sinai was the CEO of Final Algotrade, which is the leading Algotrade company in Israel. As I told you, I had the privilege to join this this experienced founding team when they just started the fund. So Random Forest is an early stage fund. We specialize in investing in ventures based on the cutting-edge machine learning technologies. I believe that Random Forest is very unique in our focus on the field of machine learning from two main reasons. So the first one is that we actually built our entire methodology on how to invest and choose the companies we select to invest in, especially for startups that based on machine learning technologies. Because a startup that based on machine learning technologies has actually a unique structure. Unlike the traditional software startups, the core of the research and development revolves around data. Data becomes their guiding force. They can't start with their data. Data is driving the innovation in the company. As a result, also the human resource within this startup consists of mathematicians and data scientists and the expert in extracting insights from vast amount of data. So here you can see some kind of a structure of data flow in a machine learning company. It starts with a vast amount of data, then there is the mathematician that needs to organize the data and clean it. Then another experts in data knows how to build the right models. And not like other software company, it's all around the data. So we are at Random Forest, we are doing actually deep research to understand the sources of the data of the company and planning the right data strategy. Then this is how we actually building the ability to choose and nurture the venture in this field. The second thing we did for machine learning startups is that we have created a unique ecosystem that supports these kind of startups. The most unique things we did actually is that we have an in-house algorithm team and mathematician who help us identify and invest in the most promising ventures that based on data. This team is also helped the portfolio companies in research development, in machine learning technologies. For early stage startups in this field, it's actually a game changer. And we also have our partners who bring a vast experience from technology companies and corporates. We also have strong network connection with researchers from academy who often have the technologies that can be used to build deep technology startups. We are working with the governments, with corporates, with accelerators and other VC firms that all of them are familiar with our capabilities and methodologies in the area of machine learning. And this is actually enable us to provide portfolio companies with a wide range of resources and support. So we created a small, unique ecosystem that is totally tailored for machine learning startups. And so I just wanted to show a few of our companies. So we are not limited to a particular vertical. Actually, we know how to identify a data technology barrier in many verticals. And what we are looking is a startup with a technology advantage that is based on machine learning, and it's usually actually a unique data or a data source or data strategy. So we have companies in digital health, in augmented reality, in nutrition, in generative architecture, and automotive. What all companies have in common is a unique data that solves a big problem. At least according to our perception, it gives the competitive advantage that we know how to spot and how to maximize. And the reason we know how to maximize it because we have built exactly the ecosystem for it. Okay. So from our ecosystem at Random Forest, I want to talk a bit about the Israeli ecosystem. Elad already told a bit about it, so I'll try not to say the same thing. Actually, our numbers are a bit different. I took it from the, and it says that the equity investment in Israel grew from $5 billion in 2015 to $25 billion in 2021. This is quite impressive, but I think more interesting is what stands behind it. Actually, this growth is a result of a growing ecosystem. Israel is ranked today in the top global startup ecosystems, but the roots of the Israeli as a startup nation is back in the 60s and 70s. It always was about building the ecosystem, but it actually wasn't, as Elad mentioned, it wasn't until the 90s when the first time series of foreign venture capitals came to Israel and teamed up with the Israeli venture capital and established the venture capital industry in Israel. So today, there are more than 300 VCs, more than other 200 kinds of stakeholders in the ecosystem, angel incubators and accelerators. The VCs, I think, maybe the most important as investors, but the whole ecosystem that creates the optimal environment for entrepreneurship and innovation. That is what creates the ground for innovation. In the early stages of my entrepreneurial journey, back in the 90s, when I founded my first software company, the Israeli ecosystem wasn't mature as today. Back then, our options for raising money were limited. We were primarily relied on approaching family and friends and a few angels we knew. Fortunately, it was enough for us, but however, the landscape has significantly changed since then. Nowadays, entrepreneurs in Israel have a lot of options available to them. They can join accelerators to kickstart their product. They can access incubators for initial funding. And in general, the wealth of resources available is truly remarkable. And I'm very proud to be part of this thriving ecosystem. So let's talk about how the ecosystem actually works. In terms of illustrating
5 more minutes.
Really? Okay. So in terms of illustrating the ecosystem, we can represent it in a graph like this. I think the entire ecosystem actually works for the startups, and we can discuss the value that each stakeholder contributes to the startups. However, I want to propose a slightly different approach that also highlights the interaction among ecosystem stakeholders. I think that the interaction between the players in the ecosystem is also important, as each of them has its own role, value for the startup and for the ecosystem. So I want to look at the ecosystem as a car. Okay, so on the right side you can see the startups. So actually all the ecosystem is directed to them. This is the goal of the ecosystem, to support them, to add, to encourage innovation, and because this is the purpose of the ecosystem. On the left side you can see the government. I see the government as some kind of the fuel of the ecosystem. It should provide the energy but not interfere with decisions. I think the Israeli government plays an important role in fostering the innovation in the innovation industry. Government agencies such as the Innovation Authority provides grants, funds, and assistance programs to fuel growth in the startup ecosystem, but it's usually doing it together with the investor, especially with the VCs. This is important because government can support in funding, but it's better to give the professional or the private market to actually choose the venture and invest the money. The investors in the middle, I think they like the engine. They are actually using the fuel and make the car goes. The investor located in the middle because they actually also need to connect to other stakeholders in the ecosystem. The investor is supposed to connect entrepreneurs to the ecosystem. They bring the experience and know how to cooperate with government, with other companies, with accelerators and funds. The investors know how to direct the entrepreneurs, and along the way there should be a driving force, but not the driver. The entrepreneurs are actually the drivers. they have to direct the companies and lead them. In this context, the academy and the technological unit are playing a very important role because they actually bringing the knowledge and the innovative entrepreneurs. I think also worth mentioning that the academy needs to know how to cooperate with the ecosystem, know how to bring the innovation to technological product to the private market. I think that in recent years, it's happened only in the recent years that the Israeli academy learned how to cooperate with the industry and learned how to share the IP with the ecosystem. So here I mentioned a few types of investors I think the entrepreneurs should know and know how to approach each one of them. Friends and family, for example, it's good maybe for very start of a venture. They usually don't have an added value. I think that founders should avoid this kind of investment in general. Angels are usually doing small investment, usually join other investors, not leading any rounds. It's good for early stage, but again, most of the time they don't bring added value unless they are professional angels. I suggest entrepreneurs to go with angels only if they see added value. Accelerators usually have a business program that support early stage startups and bring value, education, mentorship, and financing. Usually startup enter accelerator for fixed period of time. Most of the accelerators have unique methodology and expertise. Entrepreneurs should know what kind of expertise they need and what will help them the most. In Israel, we have also the incubators. I think the incubators are very important for the industry. Incubators are sponsored by the government. These are very important because the idea of this kind of program is that the government sponsors some of the investment and it allows investors to take bigger risk in highly innovative ventures. Finally, there are the VCs, where there are VCs specialized in early stage and there are larger VCs that invest in all stages. I believe that VCs are the most important investor since unlike other types of investors, VCs are usually often doing the deepest due diligence process. They usually have a whole team of experts in analysis, all kind of aspects of the ventures. And this process can serve actually as a valuable learning experience for entrepreneurs, shedding light on various aspects of their venture that may not have been fully aware of. In some way, the fund that invest in you become more than just a financial supporter. They become true partners, offering guidance and expertise and invaluable insight to help your startup. Therefore, it's important for the entrepreneur to feel sense of comfort and trust with the chosen VCs. Entrepreneurs must understand the unique value that VC can bring to the table. Each investor has its part in the ecosystem, and each important is different stage for the startup. I have a few minutes?
It depends on a few. Actually,
okay.
two.
So I just wanted to talk a bit about metrics that investors are checking or evaluating before investment decisions. There are many metrics investors use to assess investment, and not all of them relevant to early stage. And naturally, the metrics are more difficult to evaluate in the early stage. Quantitative metrics usually cannot be measured for early stage because there are no sales or no growth, so it's very difficult to evaluate them. And qualitative metrics are also relevant, relevant for early stage, but of course they are also difficult to assess. There are investors in early stage who choose a broad diversification strategy. In this case, their challenge is in evaluating startup is a little easier. To begin with, they are not aiming for a high success rate. It's also possible to divide the type of venture to deep technology-based company or to market product-based company. And if it's a product-based, is based on on a deep technology, or this means that you will be able to assess the chance of the technology to success, provided you had the required expertise, and assuming that the technology is required, then much of their investment risk is in the technology risk. So actually, this was really on a nutshell. I think I tried to squeeze in a lot of data, but I'll be happy to share more of my thoughts after the presentation, if you would like.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you
think
all.
you Israelis are really great. I was about to say 59-0.
Yes.
Exactly on
I have
time.
one more page.
You're great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. Do we have any questions from the audience? Please sit for a while. If we have any questions from the audience, feel free. Don't be shy. Okay, maybe I will have a question then. You mentioned, I don't know if this is the answer to what I was thinking, some VCs have been starting to emerge in Greece with the support of the government, as we heard in the previous speech. I was wondering, what do you think are the key factors that would attract a foreign VC, for example, from Israel, to invest in Greece and in Greek companies? What do you think that would be necessary, absolutely necessary?
I think that as a start, the regulation has to fit to the strategy of the VCs, meaning if you are investing in a foreign country, there should be some kind of regulation that needs to be done. But as a strategy, I think most of VCs are looking for good ventures. So if the ecosystem will create good synergy and eventually create good ventures, there is no reason that VCs from different countries won't cooperate.
But how would you know from Israel there is a good venture? Do you think, for example, that this particular event, Technology Forable, is a way to bring closer the VC sector with the companies? Or other means maybe you could propose?
Yeah, I think it's a good start to have this kind of cooperation, but I'm sure that VC that want to invest in good ventures will make many meetings, and maybe because Greece and Israel are so close, it's not so difficult. So there is very good potential for collaboration, I think, in this sense.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if we have any other question. We have one question. Please, Stavros, we have only...
Thanks, Vasilis. On behalf of the region of Central Macedonia, thanks for coming and for your time. I have one question. On the map of the ecosystem, you placed the corporates in the middle of the map.
Yeah, actually, I tried to make it shorter, so I didn't talk about the corporates.
Okay.
But they are in the middle, but I think they are like the wheels, because it is very important for healthy ecosystem to have corporates, as also Elad mentioned. In Israel, there are more than 400 R&D centers of multi-international. It's very important for early stage startups to have the corporates as the design partners, and also especially design partner, they also have CVC hats. So in this way, they are kind of investor.
I'm more interested on the local corporations, not the multinationals. I mean, what is their role? Are they neglected somehow because you focus on the startups or on the multinationals? Do they feel like they are not part of the equation? Or?
No, they are totally. They are in the equation, and they are in the ecosystem. I didn't mention them because of the time, but I put put them in because I believe they are important to have an healthy ecosystem. You must have a multi-international companies that want to be part of the innovative ecosystem you are building. Okay. It's very important.
If I may add, so for the example that I just gave about the robots that are cleaning buildings, this is starting with a local Israeli corporate that is selling glasses. So just to complete what you are saying, it's not just about the foreign corporates. I believe, and correct me if you believe differently, that local corporates are absolutely necessary because they have the knowledge. At the end of the day, if you've never cleaned a window at 40 stories high, you have no idea what it takes, right? So, if you see the foreign corporates that are coming, they usually don't clean windows. They do R&D, you know, they do electronics and stuff like this. So if you want to solve a problem, you need to be intimate with the problem. And how do you come intimate with the problem? You face it. And if you face it with a local corporate, you have enough.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we move to the last keynote speaker, last but not least, as they say, Mr. Roy Zwebner, if I could pronounce it correctly. Thank you very much for being here. Please take the floor. Roy, you want to sit here maybe?
I can sit here next to you. Is it okay?
Yes, for me. Mr. Zwebner is the managing partner of Innovation Basecamp. I think it is also very interesting. It will be also a very interesting speech because it has to do with ThessinTech, that is actually regional, let's say, initiative. So we will hear more about him. And of course, this is a very, very rich CV. If I read it all, you won't have time for your presentation. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to take a different approach and sit here because I need to use my laptop, if that's fine. Let me just see if I can connect. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, so first of all, thank you everybody for joining us today. I would like to talk about our experience at Basecamp in developing and building innovation-based ecosystems, which in turns support a meaningful regional economic development, creating jobs, attracting investments into the region. So our point of view of this kind of project is not just from the technology point of view. We look at it as a way of creating regional development for the city and the region. So I'm honored to be here, and I would like to thank, first of all, the organizers of this wonderful event, as well as our friends and partners at ThessinTech, the entire ThessinTech team, and Mr. Eftimiadis, who is always a pleasure meeting and joining. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what is Basecamp and the way we see how to create innovation ecosystems. So our motto, mantra at Basecamp is making it happen. And it's making it happen and making IT happen. You know, from our experience, you begin this kind of projects against all odds. It's very difficult to imagine something like that happening, something like ThessinTech happening in the city of Thessaloniki, which is not costumed and to high-tech parks and doesn't have maybe many multinational high-tech companies yet. But from our experience, most people want to be part of something bigger than just themselves. And I will show you in one of our projects, this is a project we did in Beersheba in Israel, which is in many ways similar to what is happening in Thessaloniki. And at the beginning, no high-tech company would even consider coming to Beersheba. So Thessaloniki is starting from a much better starting point. I think this issue of creating this kind of ecosystems is an issue of mindset. You have to have the right mindset and a great belief that this can be achieved. And part of what I'm going to talk about is how do you change a mindset of a city or of a region in order to create something in that sort, a success story. So a little bit about Basecamp. About 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, we've partnered with Tesintech to develop a unique ecosystem in Thessaloniki. We were introduced with this project by the Israeli Innovation Authority, who approached us based on our experience and connected us with the Greek government and with the Tesintech team. We initiate and manage tech ecosystems in Israel and around the world. Currently, we have a couple of projects in Israel, in Brazil, in Panama, and of course here in Thessaloniki together with the Tesintech group. We use what we call Dynamic Innovation Operation System, which basically actively initiate and promote cooperation between all the different stakeholders of the ecosystem. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit in my presentation. Along the way, we assure the realization of the project. And here in Tesintech, from day one, I think we realized this is a project with huge potential because we already saw many of the different parts of the needed in the ecosystem here in Thessaloniki. Along the way, we promote all kinds of unique programs, both for human capital training and help the government create the right incentives for the companies, understanding the motivation for the different stakeholders and connecting the dots. And at the end, our goal is to create a whole that is greater than the sum of all of its parts. I hope that makes sense. To me, it does. And in a way, I try to think maybe of an idea how to picture, the way we see ecosystems. And I think the main idea is, how do you take a certain amount of energy, put it into a system that at the end the output is greater than the energy invested. I think this is at the end our goal, and in a way, I'm not a physicist, but this is the way nuclear fusion works. So, I want to show you a little bit how we feel that we have to make a fusion of the different stakeholders in the innovation ecosystems. And from our experience, these are the main pillars needed for an ecosystem to thrive. So, I will go over each of the different pillars in short, and at the end, if any of you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. But along the way, I think that, in the last decade or so, we got to work with many of this kind of stakeholders and identify the different motivations that each of the stakeholders come with. Because, I'm going to talk a little bit about academy and research. This is completely different than the motivation of the government, or completely different than the motivation of the technology giants and the companies. So how do you make this fusion that all of their interests are combined in one ecosystem and everybody has something to gain from? So as for academy, we have different partners around the world. In Beersheba, which is one of our main in the first projects, we are partners with the Ben-Gurion University, which is one of the leading universities in Israel. In another project, we have ARC, which is the innovation arm of Sheba Medical Center, which is one of the 10 best medical centers in the world. Sachke is one of our partners in the project in Brazil, and we are very much looking forward to cooperate here with the CERF and the universities here in Thessaloniki. We met with and visited, and we were very impressed with what we found here. Moving on to the next pillar, it is crucial to understand the motivation of the local government or central government in a way. This is both from the economical point of view, but also from the political point of view. And we feel that the situation Thessaloniki is at right now is perfect in that sense, because from what we saw, it is ready to make the jump to the next phase of economy and technology. And from our meetings with the government here in Greece, it seems that the government is very much in favor to develop and to promote what is happening here. And we are looking forward to cooperate with them and with the new government that is going to take shape in the next couple of months. Community is a big part of what is happening in the ecosystem, and this is there are several kinds of communities. There are the formal one and the informal one or informal ones, and this can be all kinds of communities. Can be communities for entrepreneurs that want to create their own startup. It can be a community for technology leaders in different domains, and one of our roles is to help these communities thrive. And the way I see it, in order to create a successful ecosystem, it is our responsibility to create an entrance for anyone who wants to be involved with the community and the ecosystem. We have to create a door for them to enter the ecosystem. It can be someone with no privileged knowledge in computers, or it can be for a high-tech company, the CTOs that want to sit together and brainstorm. And we have to make those communities accessible for anybody. This is one of the key factors to create a good and sustainable ecosystem. Stakeholders is what we see as the partners in each of the projects that we promote and develop. And without the right partner, without the right stakeholder, it is very difficult to create such an ecosystem. So I'm very happy to say that here in Tesintech and Thessaloniki, we are lucky to cooperate with two main partners. One is, of course, Tesintech, our local partner. Second one is JTLV, which is one of the largest real estate funds in Israel. And this is going to be their first project in Greece. And in a way, creating an ecosystem it's not just about technology. It's how do you get the investors, both for the startups, both for the companies, but also for the park. How do you get them to identify that this is the right opportunity for them to invest? Because, for a real estate investor to invest now in a project that will take 4 or 5 years to start seeing the buildings, rise, it's very challenging. And especially, in a city where, if you take Athens or Tel Aviv is full with skyscrapers and many high-tech companies. It's very easy for a real estate investor to come and invest in a city like that. But in a city like Beersheba, a city like Thessaloniki, where the high-tech industry is not yet mature, how do you make them want to take part in that? So I think, in a way, both JTLV and Tesintech and Basecamp is a perfect match in that sense. And we're really looking forward, to moving this and seeing this realized. I'm getting to the two maybe last parts of the main pillars of the ecosystem, but probably the most important ones. So tech companies, it relates to multinational companies, it relates to local companies and to startups. And our role will be to promote and to make the right atmosphere for all of these different type of companies and technology giants. So, to bring multinational companies to Thessaloniki or to Beersheba or to anywhere else, this is very crucial because, like I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Pfizer story here in Thessaloniki, this is a company that can come and in 1 year employ hundreds of people all at once. Startups cannot do that. Local companies usually cannot do that. This is something that is very unique for multinational companies. And from there, once they are in the multinational companies, they are in the industry, after a couple of years, they can spill into the ecosystem, either setting up their own startups or moving to develop new centers for other multinational companies. So from our experience, this is very crucial and very important. And last but not least, I will try to, usually Israelis are not very good with timing, so maybe I will try to maintain the right time, no, the right tradition of Israel is not to be on time, because Ami and, no, but I think I'm going to be on time, yeah. So last but not least is the human capital, and I think this is the most important part of the ecosystem. At the end, the main goal for everybody, I think, is, and I think it's the main interest for everybody involved, is to make sure that we have as much as possible people participate and being employed in this ecosystem. For the government and the local community, it's great because this is creating jobs, boosting the economy. From the university point of view, it's great because the universities at the end want to see their graduate stay and find jobs here and not going abroad or to Athens or to anywhere else. From the tech companies, obviously, they would like to employ as much as possible people, and if we can show them this is possible here, so they will come. This is, again, how do you create this fusion that all the stakeholders, different stakeholders, find their own goals and their own interests in a joint effort. So I have 4 minutes left or something like that. I just want to go through, like I mentioned, the one success case, a very nice one that we have in Beersheba. The city of Beersheba is a city of about 200,000 people living there. It serves a metropolis area of about 500,000 people. In 2013, this is how it looked like. And we had about 200 people employed in the IT sector in Beersheba. Since I was the CEO of this project, I can tell you that no high-tech company I would approach would even, they would, I always like to say they were insulted that I approached them specifically because, why would they come to Beersheba? It was very challenging back then to show them, this is can be a success case. And like I mentioned, I think Thessaloniki is starting from a very higher starting point in that sense. In 2019, we had 2,500 IT employees already employed in this park with 70 high-tech companies. 12 of them are global companies, including the National Cyber Center from the government of Israel. This year, we are already approaching 4,000 high-tech employees with 80 companies and 17 global technology companies, including the Cyber Center, but also including the IDF Technology Campus, which is already in one of our buildings. And this year we also started the construction of the fifth building, the new building in the park. So, with that, I just want to say a few words about, what we did in Beersheba, and maybe to get some questions, if there are. So, I will start with supporting the tenant companies' recruiting needs. I think this is one of the points we put the most effort on, because at the end, if you can provide employees to high-tech companies, high-level employees to high-tech companies, they will come. So we need to put a lot of effort on that aspect. Other than that, of course, the real estate and the park and all the amenities and services, this is something that is very important, but I would say it's not easy, but this is the easiest part of the ecosystem, the physical aspect of it. Providing all kind of community services to the employees, very important, like daycare center for the kids of the employees, medical clinic, all kind of recreational opportunities. Here in Tessintech we are already I'm not sure how much you see it, but we are already dreaming about the high-tech employees that are going to come, and they're going to have their SAP, and they can swim in the sea, and this is for us, it's unbelievable. We believe this is something that will be very attractive, at least for Israeli talent. Obviously connecting, and both Ami and Ella talked about it, connecting the companies with the research done in the academy and promoting that. This is also something because we're going to be engaged with the companies. So this is a doorway for many other activities that we would like to present them, and not just real estate project. This is not interesting in a way. And last but not least, in a way, is how do you create the right incentive and the right subsidies from the government or the European Union for companies in order to be engaged in all the activities I mentioned. So this is, in a way, in a nutshell, some of the ideas that we would like to promote here in Tesintech. And with that, just to show you some numbers. So as I mentioned, more than 80 companies in Beersheba, including giants like IBM, Oracle, Microsoft, Intel, Dell, and others. And to begin with, I can tell you we had maybe 5 people who believed this can be achieved back then in 2013. And I think here we have more than 5. Right. What is the economic value of such an ecosystem? So in 2013, we had about 200 people in Beersheba employed in the high-tech sector, and that grew to 4,000 currently. In 2030, we expect to have about 10,000 employees employed in Beersheba. Again, a decade ago, this was unimagined. In addition to that, in 2013, the average IT salary in Beersheba was about $40,000 annual. Today, it's around $85,000 annual. It's not because just salary is going up. It's because the kind of employment that the companies bring to Beersheba is now in a much higher level than it used to be in Beersheba back then. The meaning of all of that, and I think this is the bottom line, is that today, 4,000 employees in Beersheba, 82% of them live in Beersheba in the surrounding area, and the annual income that they bring in, just 82% of them, is equivalent to $280 million a year that is flowing into the local economy. A decade ago, this number was not existing in the local economy of Beersheba in the region. In 2030, we expect to reach about $1 billion flowing into the local economy annually. And this is a game changer. This is a game changer for every city, every region around the world. And this is what we aspire to do also here in Thessaloniki. And with that, thank you, and let's make it happen. All right.
Thank you very much, Roy. Actually, you have exceeded your time, but I just discovered...
By how? By how?
It doesn't matter.
No,
2
I
minutes.
made it a goal to exceed it.
No, he's lucky actually, because I just discovered there's a mistake in the program. The program gave him 5 more minutes.
So I'm on time. Perfect.
Very interesting presentation.
Thank you.
I don't know if we have any questions from the audience. This is a really interesting initiative, and I understood you have the experience from all over the world to, let's say, make it happen, as you said. Do we have any questions from the audience? Is it in the rules? Okay, yes. Yeah.
First of all, help from a friend.
Yeah, or a client.
Although we just met.
So, as a resident of Beersheba in the past, I can say what was before and what is now. But I wanted really to ask also, what about the involvement of the local government? Because at least I missed it maybe in your presentation. How is the local government, how is the connection is done with the local government, and also with connection to the central government? I'm sure that it's not an easy task.
So yeah, thank you. So the question was about when you talk about local government, you mean the municipality and local leadership? Yeah, maybe I missed that part talking about the stakeholders, but at the end it's all about local leadership. It's all about local leadership, and without in Beersheva what we saw was I call it hunger. They were hungry to succeed, and when a multinational company approach you and they see that, it speaks to them. So it goes all the way from the local government, of course central government, but let's talk about local government, local leadership. So obviously we have Testing Tech, which is a huge asset. The Testing Tech team, from obviously without the Testing Tech team, this project is not possible. And in that sense, I feel that the local leadership here is very hungry to bring Thessaloniki to a new place. And since we saw it happen in Beersheva and we now see it happen in other places, this is something that at the beginning, like I said, in Beersheva we had 5 people believing in it, and I can't even count the number of people criticizing the idea. And all of a sudden, you bring another small success. It's all an issue of small successes. You bring another success and another success, and you see all of a sudden, a shift in the mindset of the city, of the region, and no doubt, local leadership, local government is tremendous in that. Central government, in a way, and I think Ami talked about it, they have to provide the fuel and mainly make sure that they don't interrupt. This is something that sometimes with politics, I would maybe finish by quoting the mayor of Beersheva. He always uses a very nice quote. He says, let's build an ecosystem and not an ecosystem. So in a way, I think this is the mission for all of us, for all the different players. Yeah.
So thank you very much. I have a lot of questions, but actually we're out of time. But I think we will have the opportunity later to talk about some things. Please give a big applause to our speakers. It was a wonderful session. Thank you very much. You are okay. 1 minute later than the original. Perfect. I think we're perfect. Actually, it was really very interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. Very, very thoughtful and provocative and insightful presentations. I hope we'll have the opportunity later to talk again. Thank you very much all for joining us. Thank you.